I'm back with another Dehancer tutorial. This time it's in Lightroom. And as y'all know, if you watched my Dehancer premiere video, you would know that Dehancer reached out to me and they asked if I would make a review about the plugin and give my honest thoughts about it. So I was super excited when they did, and this time I'm going to be reviewing the Lightroom plugin. I absolutely love the plugin in DaVinci Resolve, and I was like, wow, I'd love to try it in photo form so I can make my photos look filmic. So let's dive into Lightroom and see what it's all about. Here we are in Lightroom, and this is a photo I took a few years ago in the Italian Dolomites, and I absolutely love this photo. As you can see here, the tones right now are super, super cool because it was early morning. So I'm actually going to bring the white balance up quite a bit, 8,000, make it more of like a warm tone. And then the way we use Dehancer inside Lightroom, once it's been installed, is you're going to right click your image here, and you are going to go up to Edit in Dehancer Lightroom plugin. So we click that, and we're going to create a copy inside Lightroom. So it'll create another virtual copy down here. We want it in TIFF format, resolution, we'll do 240. And here we go. Let's click Edit. It's then going to open up the app inside here, and we can go here to Films, and we have all these presets that Dehancer has built in to their app. So let's see what's kind of looking cool here. Maybe Kodak Vision 3 200T. Let's see what happens when we click that. Okay, so we're already off the bat getting a more filmic look. Definitely those warmer tones with that one. We could even go crazy with this ORWZO. That one's pretty wild. You could do black and white. But for this, I think, what is this? Ooh, yeah, let's try Fuji Chrome Velvia 50. That's kind of cool. All right. And then off to here, we have our settings. So we have source. We can change the tint of the comp, green, put more pink into that. So one thing I will say right off the bat, you cannot use Command Z, the shortcut, to undo a change. You actually need to go here to reset. But does that in fact change all the settings? Yeah. So when you hit that reset button, it's going to actually change all these settings within the panel. So you would actually have to manually, if you change some of these settings and you like the outcome of those settings, you would essentially need to bring back this dropper down to the way you had it. So in this case, I'm going to type in 0 like that. And then film developer. Here we got contrast boost, which I'm actually going to boost the contrast a little bit. Color boost is actually put down. What happens if we bring that up? Ooh, that's looking pretty cool. We're getting that sunlight hitting the mountain there, getting more blues in the sky and the shadows. And then we are getting a little bit of orange in the trees here, which I like. So color boost. Ooh, let's go down to color density here, which, as I mentioned in my premiere video, this is going to put a bit of saturation into the image without boosting the exposure within the saturation. So if I bring that up, kind of essentially makes the colors more dense. White point, if we bring that down, that's going to boost those whites a little too much. So I'm actually going to leave that at 100 because I was kind of looking good the way it was. Black point, if we bring that down, it's going to lift the shadows a little bit. Let me just lift them a tad right there. And here we have the print here. So you can do a Kodak Endura glossy paper. Let's do a 2383. This is very Hollywood right here, but let's see what happens when we click that. Okay, so that's going to give us, it almost looks like more green tones. Let's go back to that glossy. Yeah, that's more of a pink. Getting more cool green tones with that. I'm actually going to go back to the glossy because I was kind of liking that. Color density is 100. Saturation 97. We'll leave that. Color head, you can, push more colors into certain areas of the image you would like. For instance, in this case, we could punch a little more yellow here. Let's see if we enable and disable that. What does that look like? I kind of like that. Kind of like that yellow being pushed into the mountains a little bit. Give it a little more of a warm vintage feel. Midtones tone, that would push that cooler. Kind of liking that a little bit warmer. And then film grain. And obviously we want film grain to kind of give us that vintage look to it. We can bring that amount up. And if we bring that amount up, you can see you can get pretty wild with it. That almost just looks straight up pixelated with if you go to 100. So we definitely don't want that. But let's bring that back down to, 16. That's nice. Sized is 1. I'm not a big fan of large grain in the image. I kind of like it more fine, finer grain. It just kind of, to me, it just looks better. Now we'll go down to halation. This is the biggest one. As I mentioned in my Premiere review, halation has exploded on Instagram, on YouTube. People are absolutely loving it because it really brings that vintage look to your image. So we're going to go ahead and bring in some halation. Impact right now is at 28%. But if I bring that all the way up, you can really start to see that halation come up right in this area of the mountain. And if we bring in global diffusion up, that's really going to expand it into our image. So, wow, that's looking like the mountain is glowing. And local diffusion, even more so. I mean, that's just getting wild there. That's getting real trippy, one would say. And that is too much. There's a fine line, in my opinion, to a good amount of halation, and you can just change it a tiny bit, and all of a sudden you have way too much halation. So we're actually just going to bring that down a bit because we still want that vintage vibe with the halation, but we don't want it crazy or anything like that. So bring the global diffusion up. And if we just disable that, you can see that it even brought more warm tones into the current warm tones that we have in the image. And yeah, it actually looks pretty solid right there. Next, we will go down to bloom, and I do love the bloom effect. It's essentially like shooting with a black Pro Mist filter on your image. It just really brings that vintage look to the image. And right now, it looks like it's set to 30. If we boost that up, you can really see we're starting to get more of a bloom effect to it. So if we bring in the detail more, it's really just making it more and more vintage. And if I toggle that on and off, you can immediately see the impact that it's having on our image. It just gives it a bit of a glow and gives it that vintage feel. And yeah, I'll kind of leave it like that just to kind of see, we're trying to create this real filmic look, and it's kind of what we're going for. So then down here we have film damage. I don't love film damage myself. It adds, like dust particles and stuff like that. So if we bring up the amount, you can see that we kind of have all these white specks and stuff in our image. And to me, like the look I like going for doesn't necessarily have film damage. So I'm actually going to leave that off. But it is cool that effect is there. And then you can go down here and enable a vignette if you'd like. And you can bring the size up, you can bring it down, exposure. Yeah, so you could really give it the kind of look that you wanted to here, but I'm actually going to leave that off as well. So that's how we started, and this is what we ended with. And to be honest, wow, what a huge difference. The saturation and color that we have brought into this image while maintaining that filmic look is, wow, I'm pretty impressed by this. Okay, cool. Then we click OK, and boom, loads up. There's our image. And if you see down here, it did create that virtual copy. So if we go to our original, that's what we started with, super desaturated, just raw image. And then down here, boom, there we go. I'm liking that. That's clean. Let's go to another photo here. This is a photo I shot in New Zealand in Milford Sound years ago. Before we get into Dehancer, I'm going to bring up the exposure. I'm actually going to drop it. Let's see. Drop that slightly. I'm going to bring up these shadows a little bit just to get that detail back in there. And then the highlights, I'm going to bring down a little bit just to get those clouds more detail. Okay, I'm liking that. Right click. I'm going to click Edit in Dehancer Lightroom plugin. Edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments. Click Edit. It'll open up our Dehancer Lightroom plugin. And we can go down here. And let's click a preset here. What's catching our eye? I'm going to try Fujichrome Velvia 50. Ooh, wow. Okay, that must be taking our previous halation settings already in bloom since it's already enabled. Boom. So I'm actually going to disable that for now. Disable the bloom. And I'm going to disable print, compression, developer. So let's just start with the first setting, source. I'm actually going to leave these relatively the same. Temperature of the comp, leave it there. Film developer, color boost. I do want to get more color into it. As you can see, the tones here are super, super cool. And then we have a warm tone, the sun hitting this mountain slightly. Contrast boost. Let's bring a little more contrast into it. Film compression, I definitely want, because I kind of want to maintain those highlights a little bit. Bring down color density. Let's actually bring it up to there, the white point. Bring up impact. Let's bring that impact up. I'm going to leave expand. I'm going to click print. And right here we have Fujifilm 3513. If we go to linear, yeah, let's leave it on linear. Boost that saturation, tonal contrast, and film grain. Global halation. Film grain, I'm actually going to go into custom settings here. We're going to drop that size down again. Amount, we'll leave there. Halation will go back to custom. Bring down the impact a little bit. You can see we're getting quite a bit of halation in the valley here. So we can bring that back up. Just kind of give it that more vintage vibe to it. We'll enable bloom for sure. Wow, yeah, already giving it that dreamy look. I didn't shoot this photo with a black Pro Mist on it, so I can definitely amp that up to give it that more vintage vibe. Right there. Leave film damage and vignette off, and then we'll go ahead and click OK. And boom. There we have it. One last thing, I'm definitely going to straighten this up because it's a little crooked here. There you have it. There is Dehancer and Lightroom. There's one more thing I wanted to show you. There's Dehancer for the iOS mobile app. And we're just going to play with that and see if we can get some similar effects going from Lightroom onto our iPhone. So let's take a look at the Dehancer app and see if we can get the same effects. Okay, so we have the Dehancer app open right now on our mobile, and this is a photo I shot of my bike while I was out on a super long ride from Golden to Boulder one day. And let's jump in here and let's check out the presets they have. I'm going to go back to original here, and I want to go to presets, category, all presets here. And here we have all these different same presets that are, it looks like, within Lightroom, which is cool. And let's see kind of what catches our eye. I'll go for the Kodak Vision 3 200. Click that. So obviously it's a little underexposed here. So we need to bring that exposure back up so we can maintain that detail in the shadows. Let's bring contrast back. Saturation, obviously we want boosted. Color density, I'm going to boost to really bring those tones back into the color. Target white, really want those clouds to have those natural white tones in them. And then we'll go over to film grain, bring the size down, the amount up, halation. If we amplify that, where is that halation going to come in? It's going to start to come in the mountains up here. And bloom, let's amplify the bloom impact. Yeah, cool. So there you go. A vintage looking photo on the iOS app. That's super cool to be able to do that. Just on your app, especially halation. Halation, I've found, has been a super hard thing to find, especially on iPhone apps that actually looks good. And I feel like Dehancer is one of those companies that actually does a film emulation plugin right. So if you're interested in purchasing Dehancer, there's a link in the description in my bio. You get 10% off. It helps me, it helps you. And yeah, thanks for watching, and see you on the next one.